Welcome to Concept with Justin. The late afternoon light drips soft gold across the backyard as you step outside and let the air wrap around you. It feels like stepping into a secret someone has kept through the years, an oasis tucked behind the house, deliberately calm, a place that listens. The first thing you notice is the layering of green, tall, soft foliage at the edges that sifts light into leaf-shaped patterns across the ground, mid-height shrubs that hum with life just below eye level, and low ground cover that carpets the soil in a gentle, living cushion. Everything feels measured but not rigid, as if the space were composed by someone who loves order but prefers it to be forgiven by nature's own softness. Paths of warm gravel weave past beds of ferns and ornamental grasses, their blades catching the breeze and creating a light, constant whisper. The sound is nearly as important as the sight: the hush of leaves, a distant drip from a small fountain, the faint clink of wind chimes, every noise curated so the space breathes. You are drawn forward, deeper into a place that insists you slow down. The design relies on contrasts that complement: rough wood beside smooth stone, vertical bamboo against low stone walls, sunlight gaps that highlight darker, cooler corners. At the center of the yard, a shallow reflecting pool mirrors the sky in fragments and invites you to pause. The water is calm and framed by slate tiles and river rocks, with a single, Elegant water spouts sending a thin ribbon of water back into the basin, quiet, repetitive, meditative. Around the pool, seating is informal and intentional. A few low benches carved from reclaimed timber, a set of poufs upholstered in weather-resistant fabric in muted tones, and a single hammock slung between two handsomely pruned olive trees. The furniture feels like an afterthought from a long, careful life, lived in, comfortable, in harmony with the garden's palette. You sit, and the simple act of sitting rearranges your thoughts. This is not a yard for loud parties or fast movement. This is a yard for slow conversations, small gatherings, reading, or simply being still. Plant choice helps keep the temperature welcoming. Broadleaf evergreens and strategically placed shade trees soften the midday sun. Layered canopies create pockets of microclimates, spots where the ground stays cool, corners that cultivate moisture-loving ferns, and sunny ridges where Mediterranean herbs thrive. Herbs are tucked into beds and planters, rosemary with its aromatic, resinous scent, low thyme spilling over stones like tiny carpets, lavender offering soft purple blooms and a calming perfume. These aromatic plants do more than please the nose. They attract pollinators that animate the garden, bees hum among the flowers, butterflies drift on the air, and small native birds find food and shelter in the layered cover. The result is an ecosystem that feels complete rather than staged. Every living thing has a role, and the balance is gently maintained through design more than constant fussing. Paths are practical and poetic. A meandering path encourages you to slow your pace and notice details. A carved stone with a faint inscription, a cluster of hostas with glossy, dramatic leaves, a bed of sedum that glows bronze at sunset. The path widens at places into little scenes, an intimate bistro table for morning coffee, a sculptural lantern that glows at night, a raised planter bench for potting or conversation. Lighting is subtle. It doesn't shout, but it extends the garden's magic into dusk. Low wattage LED strips tuck under benches and cast a soft wash along the path edges. Spotlights lift the trunks of select trees, making their branches appear to float at night. Lanterns hung from hooks are fueled by solar cells, and their warm, flickering light makes evenings feel like a quiet festival of stars brought down into the yard. That warmth invites lingering long after the sun has slipped away. Material choices anchor the design in comfort. Natural stone sets a grounded tone, a blend of bluestone and flagstone for the main patio, smooth river rocks at the edge of the water, and decomposed granite in the pathways for a soft, rustic crunch underfoot. Reclaimed wood provides furniture and screens with character and history. Its weathered surface softens in sunlight and blends into the plantings as if it grew there. Metal accents, steel planters, black iron light fixtures, add the slightest modern edge, keeping the garden from feeling simply pastoral. The color palette is restrained: sage greens, soft grays, warm neutrals, and touches of deep terracotta. The result is harmonious, a small world of tones that relax the eye and make transitions from house to yard feel natural. The house, if visible, becomes part of the composition rather than the dominant piece. Water plays several roles. It cools, it reflects, it soothes. Beyond the central pool, a narrow trickle runs in a hidden channel along one border, moving water quietly from one basin to another so you always hear the promise of movement. During warm afternoons, the evaporative effect of these water features lowers the perceived temperature, lending the feeling of coolness that defines an oasis. The trickle is also a subtle way to mask unwanted noise, a faraway road, a neighbor's lawn mower, and to give the garden a private acoustic identity. You learn to read the water's small language, how a leaf falling in makes concentric rings that slowly disappear, how sunlight on wet stone changes color by the minute. The pool invites small acts, lightly touching the surface with a fingertip, letting pebbles settle in the silt, watching dragonflies skim the surface. Edible elements are woven into the design without making the garden feel utilitarian. Citrus trees in large pots provide glossy leaves and tart, fragrant fruit. Fig trees with broad leaves offer both shade and sweet rewards. A raised bed holds compact varieties of tomatoes and salad greens. These productive plants are chosen to complement the oasis aesthetic. They are sculptural and aromatic, not messy or sprawling. Baskets of herbs hang from pergola beams, ready to be plucked for a recipe or tea. Growing food close to where you live changes the rhythm of meals and adds a sensory dimension to standing in the yard. The gentle acidity of lemon zest, the sugared scent of sun-warmed tomatoes, the resinous touch of basil. Edible plants also create more reasons to be in the yard. They invite you to care, to taste, and to share small harvests with friends and family. The pergola becomes a focal point, a roofless room that provides structure without closing the sky. Climbing vines, wisteria in spring, fragrant jasmine in summer, wind around its posts and across rafters, turning the pergola into a living ceiling. In cooler months, the pergola frames the sky for stargazing, and in hot months it supports shade cloths and light-filtering panels. Beneath it, a dining table sits with comfortable chairs, thick cushions, and a bouquet of seasonal foliage. Meals here feel like small pilgrimages, simple dishes that highlight garden flavors, shared slowly, with conversation. The pergola's beams catch light and shade in changing patterns, making every meal different. Nearby, a low outdoor kitchen counter holds a small grill and prep space, hidden behind a facade of stone and greenery so the cooking blends with the garden rather than standing apart. Texture is everywhere, sometimes surprising. A wall of smooth river stones contrasts with a cluster of rough-textured succulents. Metal screens with laser-cut leaf patterns filter light and create moving shadow plays on the planting beds. The interplay of textures makes the garden tactile. The urge to run a hand along a fern's frond, to feel the coolness of slate, to press fingers into the spongy moss on a shaded stone. Even the vertical surfaces participate. A green wall of mixed succulents and trailing plants rises on a section of fence, softening the boundary and making neighbors feel less like a hard edge and more like a shared backdrop. These textural choices are carefully considered to invite touch, to slow you down through small, repeated sensory encounters. Designing for wildlife is part of the plan. Native plants anchor the scheme because they support local insect and bird populations, key players in a healthy backyard ecosystem. Bird baths and nesting boxes are placed where they are protected from predators but visible enough to delight observers. A small log pile hidden behind a screen becomes a habitat for beneficial insects and small critters. Night-blooming flowers and pale-toned blooms provide nectar for nocturnal visitors. Nighttime in the garden feels different but no less alive. A pocket of light reveals the movement of moths, and the cool air carries new scents and quiet sounds. The yard, then, is not only for human use. It is a shared place with other lives, a neighborhood in miniature where cooperation helps every part thrive. Sustainable practices are woven into everyday maintenance. Rain barrels catch roof runoff and feed the irrigation system. Drip irrigation provides deep, slow watering to the roots rather than spraying the foliage and losing water to evaporation. Compost bins are tucked out of sight to turn kitchen scraps into rich soil, and mulching reduces water loss while building soil structure. Soil amendments are chosen to feed the plants without relying on harsh chemicals, and integrated pest management strategies lean on beneficial insects and companion planting rather than broad-spectrum pesticides. These choices not only reduce environmental impact but also give the garden resilience. When a heat wave or a cold snap comes, the plants can lean on deep-rooted strategies and the microclimates created by the design. Scaling the concept to different lot sizes is straightforward. In a narrow urban yard, the same oasis feeling can be achieved with tall, narrow planters, vertical gardens, and a small reflecting pool or container water feature. In a broader suburban lot, multiple rooms can be paced through: the dining pergola, the central pool, a play lawn, and a secluded reading nook, each room linked by paths and plantings that feel consistent. For rooftops, lightweight materials and smaller trees in containers create a green refuge above the street. Even a balcony can become a mini oasis with layered pots, a small fountain, and a comfortable chair. The principles remain the same: layered planting, water and shade strategies, tactile materials, and thoughtful lighting. The goal is to create a place that feels like an escape, no matter the footprint. Maintenance routines are modest if designed for simplicity. Instead of high-maintenance exotics, the palette favors plants adapted to local conditions. Seasonal tasks, like pruning, mulch refreshes, and compost turning, become rituals rather than chores, small acts that connect you to the life of the place. A weekly walkthrough with a basket and shears becomes time spent noticing changes. A new bloom, the first ripening fruit, the delicate web of a spider that signals ecological balance. Low-maintenance irrigation and durable materials save time and provide reliability, while a few high-care spots, like a herb bed or annual planter, offer chances for frequent attention and seasonal enjoyment. This balance keeps the oasis inviting rather than demanding. The human dimension, the stories you imagine and the memories you make, completes the garden. Children learn to be careful with seedlings and delighted with the discovery of a hiding frog. A late-night conversation under the pergola shifts a friendship into something deeper. A solitary cup of tea becomes a daily ritual that steadies a hectic life. Even small objects matter: a weathered kettle used as a planter, a found stone that marks a child's growth, a handwritten sign noting the name of a favorite rose. Over time, these artifacts accumulate, making the garden less a design project and more a living narrative. The oasis becomes a mirror of the household, its rhythms, its pleasures, and its quiet habits. Budget-friendly ideas allow the dream to be realized in stages. Start with a single focal point, a water bowl, a bench, or a specimen tree, then build outward. Reclaimed materials reduce cost and add character. Local stone and native plants cut transport expenses. DIY elements, like hand-laid stepping stones or a simple trellis, keep costs down and add personal investment. A phased approach means you can live in the garden as it evolves. Plant one bed this season, build a pergola the next year, and add lighting and hardscaping over time. This pacing lets the space mature naturally and keeps the process enjoyable. A thoughtfully chosen first step will set the tone and inform later additions, ensuring cohesion. Finally, the intangible value becomes clear. The Oasis is not just a collection of plants and materials, but a cultivated pause embedded in daily life. It changes how you move through your home and how you connect with others. Morning sunlight through the leaves becomes a small daily blessing. The sound of water resets your mood after a long day. A shared meal outdoors becomes more present, more attentive. The garden's design supports these moments. Its scale, its materials, the placement of seating, and the choreography of sight lines all work together to create a place that invites life to unfold slowly and with pleasure. In the end, the coolest thing about an Oasis-style backyard is not just the temperature it creates but the space it opens inside you, room to breathe, to notice, to be more deliberate about small joys. You linger a while longer, feeling the slow cooling of the air as evening approaches. Firelight from a low, contained fire pit warms faces and makes small talk easy. A blanket is draped over a bench for those who feel the chill. The lights come on in a careful sequence. First the path, then the pool's subtle glow, then the soft uplighting that makes the trees look like silhouettes against a deeper night. Conversations smudge into comfortable silences. A neighbor might wander by and be invited in. Your garden, in its quiet generosity, becomes a natural host. When you finally turn to go inside, you take with you the residual calm the place offered, the way the garden has rearranged your pace, if only for an hour. The oasis sits waiting, quiet and patient, ready for the next small ritual. Designing such a backyard begins with observation. Look at sun patterns and wind, where the ground pulls after rain, what existing trees are worth keeping, and where neighbors' views need softening. Sketch ideas roughly, don't worry about precision at first, and think in terms of rooms and connections rather than a single, monolithic space. Choose a focal point early on to orient the design: a pool, a specimen tree, a pergola, or an outdoor hearth. From there, plan paths that meander and reveal, not ones that march in straight, utilitarian lines. Consider how each element affects microclimates and how materials will age. Think about how the space will be used at different times of day and in different seasons. This thoughtful approach will ensure that the resulting oasis is responsive to your lifestyle rather than merely pretty.